is coming down. Say the ark is coming down. Me said I love you to death. Say free food and money, said you're bound to get. Me said I love you to death.
Don't leave me to cry, Lord, please. I'm asking you to stay, 'cause you know that I need you so, and that's why you're my soul, all and my inspiration. You're all I've got to get me by. You're my soul and my inspiration. Without you, baby, what good am I? Oh, yeah, Lord, please don't you say goodbye. Only you really satisfy me. Without you, what good life is? Never leave me in misery, and that's why you're my soul, all and my inspiration. You're all I've got to get me by. You're my soul and my inspiration. Without you, baby, what good am I? Oh, yeah, Lord. Please, don't you go away. Only you really satisfy me. Without you, what good life is? Never leave me in misery, and that's why you're my soul, all and my inspiration. You're all I've got to get me by. You're my soul and my inspiration. Without you, baby, what good am I? Whoa, 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 whoa.
I don't mind we practice the cultures that come from a foreign land, but we have our own thing right here that needs even more attention. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I am talking about calypso, steel pan and limbo dance. Tata drumming is our culture. Let's give them their growing chance. We must show all love for the things we own, for their future is our concern. So let me love, we calypso, and give praise to the limbo, and believe in the steel fan for the next generation.
always been the most pleasant cabinet minister, but Diego Martin Northeast MP Coleman but wants to change his image. The defeat at the polls almost 3 weeks ago have put things into perspective for the former works minister. He now has more time for his wife and son.
I went to a movie for the first time in about 5 years. I went and saw Iron Man 2 with my son, a week ago. These are the things I could not do. I just had no time to do that.
Imbert, who is a contractor and design engineer, is not on the hunt for a job right away, but there are things he still wants to accomplish in his spare time. He also wants to give his academic career a boost.
That I always wanted to do a PhD, and I was encouraged to do it. I didn't have the time. I'm certainly going to do it now. So I'm going to be doing a PhD in construction law during this period in opposition.
He even jokes that he has repairs to do on his home that are a decade overdue. His constituency has also been neglected and he plans to fix that. Imbert was part of the former P&M government for the past 9 years. He admits it has aged him somewhat. He says being in politics and serving as a government minister tends to consume you, and adjusting to a seat on the opposition bench in the parliament will take a lot of getting used to.
And I'm not happy about it, but I'm coming to terms with it. I've been here before, but it was so long ago I forgot.
His time in opposition, he says, will be used to rebrand his image and attitude to the media and to the population. After all, second to former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, he was seen as one of the most arrogant ministers of government.
That was an error on my part. I again, was always more interested in the work. So, working so hard, I was working 16, 18 hours a day.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, indeed.
So
as of course, we continue, of course, to treat with the issues of the day. As of course, the corridor transformation can do. And of course, we have a bumper program for you tonight.
Imbert is still adjusting to the free time he now has on his hands. But he told us he is enjoying not getting phone calls at 2 in the morning or 3,000 letters of complaints on his desk. For CNC3, I'm Kamal Georges.
Might have a next budget to come. That might kill them, because if this is causing so much pain and diarrhea, if this is causing so much pain and gastrointestinal distress, what's going to happen in the next budget? What? As I said,
He's not always been the most pleasant cabinet minister, but Diego Martin Northeast MP Coleman but wants to change his image. The defeat at the polls almost 3 weeks ago have put things into perspective for the former works minister. He now has more time for his wife and son.
I went to a movie for the first time in about 5 years. I went and saw Iron Man 2 with my son, a week ago. These are the things I could not do. I just had no time to do that.
Imbert, who is a contractor and design engineer, is not on the hunt for a job right away, but there are things he still wants to accomplish in his spare time. He also wants to give his academic career a boost.
That I always wanted to do a PhD, and I was encouraged to do it. I didn't have the time. I'm certainly going to do it now. So I'm going to be doing a PhD in construction law during this period in opposition.
He even jokes that he has repairs to do on his home that are a decade overdue. His constituency has also been neglected and he plans to fix that. Imbert was part of the former P&M government for the past 9 years. He admits it has aged him somewhat. He says being in politics and serving as a government minister tends to consume you, and adjusting to a seat on the opposition bench in the parliament will take a lot of getting used to.
And I'm not happy about it, but I'm coming to terms with it. I've been here before, but it was so long ago I forgot.
His time in opposition, he says, will be used to rebrand his image and attitude to the media and to the population. After all, second to former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, he was seen as one of the most arrogant ministers of government.
That was an error on my part. I again, was always more interested in the work. So, working so hard, I was working 16, 18 hours a day, and 7 days a week. So that here am I working, my tail off, if you allow me to use that language. And you're asking me questions. And I am saying, but why are you asking me these questions? Can't you see how hard I'm working?
Imbert is still adjusting to the free time he now has on his hands, but he told us he is enjoying not getting phone calls at 2 in the morning or 3,000 letters of complaints on his desk. For CNC3, I'm Kamal Georges.
Might have a next budget to come in. That might kill them, because if this is causing so much pain and diarrhea, if this is causing so much pain and gastrointestinal distress, what's going to happen in the next budget? What? As I said,
CNC3, one of the more contentious issues in the last general election was that of the property tax. Where in the PNM's manifesto is this addressed?
it's not in the document. It's not in the document. It's not in the document. This is one of the things we need to talk to people about.
Let me take that one. I'm glad you raised that. The dreaded property tax. Let me make it abundantly clear. As I speak to you now, arrangements are already in place put by this UNC administration for land and building taxes to come back into being after September 7th. That was done by Larry Hawaii when he became Minister of Finance. So for anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
CNC3, one of the more contentious issues in the last general election was that of the property tax. Where in the PNM's manifesto is this addressed?
Document. It's not in the document. It's not in the document. This is one of the things we need to talk to people about.
Let me take that one. I'm glad you raised that. The dreaded property tax. Let me make it abundantly clear. As I speak to you now, arrangements are already in place put by this UNC administration for land and building taxes to come back into being after September 7th. That was done by Larry Hawaii when he became Minister of Finance. So for anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
CNC3, one of the more contentious issues in the last general election was that of the property tax. Where in the PNM's manifesto is this addressed?
It's not in the document. It's not in the document. It's not in the document. This is one of the things we need to talk to people about.
Let me take that one. I'm glad you raised that. The dreaded property tax. Let me make it abundantly clear. As I speak to you now, arrangements are already in place put by this UNC administration for land and building taxes to come back into being after September 7th. That was done by Larry Hawaii when he became Minister of Finance. So for anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
President, good night to all and sundry. Of course, we continue, of course, with that series to demonstrate and to, of course, increase, improve, and to, of course, render irrefutably and demonstrate that is without doubt, and that the population or the listenership or the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore the electorate, will cast away any doubt of the insincerity and the original intent and disposition of the Rowley administration to deceive and to contemptuously get into government, undermining, of course, in the process our democratic processes. After all, it was a former president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, who said, of course, that every successive generation, as far as their commitment and dedication to the democracy, then they have a duty and responsibility to safeguard, to protect, to, in more ways than one, commit themselves and to preserve our democracy for succeeding or future generations. And therefore, the time has come for Trinidad and Tobago, current, contemporary, present generation, to make certain that we have a democracy to leave for our successors. In other words, our children and our children's children, whether they be grandchildren or whether they be great-grandchildren, etc., etc. But the fact of the matter is that under the present circumstance, our democracy is under threat. And having said that, and having regard, of course, to the 2015, we go back there to demonstrate to you, as so many have observed, that with respect to property tax, you would observe tonight that the intention was always, of course, to hoodwink and to deceive, because when the presentation of the 2015 manifesto of the PNM at the Hyatt Hotel, they never included, of course, the property tax inside of its manifesto, as indicated by Imbert, because Imbert attempted to respond to that particular question, and it was an obvious question since, of course, the UNC did not only implement the property tax, but it was a controversial matter and a major pillar of the promise that was made by the Kamala Persad-Bissessar administration between 2010 and 2015, and it was never implemented, even when it was engaged, of course, in the protestation called Ask the Tax. And therefore, when one looks at the fumbling and the competing between Rowley and Imbert to answer the question or not answer the question, we have to take a look at that. Let's go straight, of course. Let's go straight to the line so you have an appreciation. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Good night. Good night to you. Good night to you.
I heard some people from nasty Trinidad today on our radio station mentioned the fact that they party never did nothing positive for this country. And he was a shameless prime minister. I wonder if again he mixed up with Dr. Rowley, boy.
No.
Because when Dr. Rowley
I would know that.
I wonder what to paint he with. If they go painting with a Michelangelo or Renan or something like that. Because I really can't see Dr. Rowley putting his picture in Pandey shoes and what Pandey do to this country, you know. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
He's under implement a lot of things for people.
Oh, yes.
But what Rowley doing is taking everything away from before. He's making before poor. And Mr. Pandey had a phrase he used to use. He said the PNM create the working class poor. That means you're working just to pay bills and you can't pay your way out of that. And that is exactly what we see in here today with this regime here. So we can say what you want. The PNM people can say what they want. None of them. Right? They ain't better than that. They find out what you do to this country. And today, yesterday, whenever the man implemented disability grant, he started the Sukuk grant project. He started dollar for dollar, a whole stuff other things. We bring in the foreign use market. Half of them PNM people who got killed because they could not afford America right now. Understand? Pandey started a lot of those things, and people get rich out of that. The bamboo, all these insurance, all these have become rich overnight because of that. And they go say the man will do nothing. They're too damn disrespectful. Right? And I have to thank for that Prime Minister. He did a lot of good. Nobody is perfect. They try to frame him up with all kind of things. But if you go into a worldly regime, right? Because always be using a certain way where he do certain things when he was a younger person. You think if he go up any elections in America, he'd have get in there? Then around he would have big stick. No way he can enter office with that kind of track record he had from before. The person that had a field day on him. He will never make it into no primary, nothing. You understand? But the people down here, they damn too blind and disrespectful. I think you'll be blessed airport after him. Only birthday party airport. Because now they want to take ownership.
Yes, yeah, yes. Yes, indeed. But my response to that is very simple. There is none as blind, even there's none as blind as he or she who refuses to see. Very, very, very simple response. But let's go straight to the lines again. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Good evening, Mr. Smith.
Good night to you.
Yes, sir. I would like to wish you first of all a happy new year.
Thank you very much, and many kind returns.
I would also like to thank you. I would also like to state my utmost disappointment that none of the media companies took it upon themselves to give live coverage of Mr. Pandey's arrival at the airport tonight. I find, they could have done better. They should have been, there should have been people broadcasting it live.
I agree with you. If that indeed took place, I agree with you. But of course, I am sure that tomorrow news something else will be said. So I don't want to preempt, except of course that if that is the case, then of course that is despicable. It is of course total disrespect, as well as of course demonstrates how disingenuous and how dishonest the people, the media in particular representing the people, have conducted itself so far, having regard to the fact that the state has said that they will be, of course, recognizing a state funeral for Mr. Pandey under Hindu rites. The first time in Trinidad and Tobago, and there are connotations for that. And there are some people clearly who will not, because of their bigotry and their hatred for other people's religion in a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, and the biases because of where they are and the influence that they wield. And so they probably may have influenced what you might, if what you're saying is true, what could have occurred. But as I said, I'll leave my mind open to that. So any other comment you would like to make? Oh, all right. That person has...
just to say that he was a true soldier of the soil. True soldier of the soil.
Yes, boy. Yes,
so,
sure.
That's about it. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. And of course, every day since before he died, I recall a personal experience where people are praising him for opening up the car industry in the way that he did in order to give the poor man, because Trinidadians have a love relationship with vehicles. And he is the man has been credited for people getting affordable transport all over the country. But let's go straight to the lines. Professor, good night. Welcome. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night. Just talk up a little bit. That's all I ask of you tonight. Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear now. Yes. You were talking a little soft earlier. But go ahead. Yes. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, you're going... Okay, well, you're going in and out, so I'm not sure if it's yours or my end.
All right, well, I'm giving you the thumbs up to say that I'm hearing you. Yes. I'm giving you the thumbs up if you're seeing.
Okay, I have the YouTube on, so I'm watching you, but the audio is down. So, okay, let me get serious now and let me talk.
Yes.
Because this is very important. See, we can't allow the PNM to win, and they cannot get back Tobago. And Tobago people need to realize that the PNM, remember when they expanded those seats, the Prime Minister did that to create more THA seats, and he thought he would win the election, and the Tobagonians slapped him. They slapped the PNM, they got only one seat. You see, people waking up, Lennox. And the Prime Minister has that power, the PNM really, they will change any rule to accommodate their retaining power, much to our detriment. And we will continue to struggle. And they use the EBC like their own political tool. And we need to realize that when they do this, they are chipping away at our rights because we talk about democracy. And this has to stop. And I'll tell you something. When people start getting really pushed enough, they'll start rioting because crime is still going up. And we know the government is corrupt because crime is going up. Remember when Paula May Weeks had that list and she violated every code of conduct in the book and in the constitution when she hid that list? Do you remember where that police commissioner, that whole thing came out? Nothing ever came of it. She's a mere figurehead, a political tool, just like the Kangaloo woman is. And we take it, and we're fine with it. I'll tell you something, eh? You see that Pandey funeral coming up? That is going to be a big funeral. Because I'll tell you why. The Indian community, even Maharaj died, he was a real kind of crazy kind of man at times. I spoke with him several times, and he had his biases, and I disagreed a lot with him, but he was an intellectual. When he died, people cried. But this is different. See, Mr. Pandey represented all of us. But more importantly, he was so powerful to the Indian community because those were the people who the PNM never wanted to allow access to anything. They handpicked people so they could mobilize and work with the PNM, and they would show that they were very diverse. When all we know in reality that many Indian people were living in deep and abject poverty. And so they are all about a show. And they write papers and do all these things, but the appearance is just to show the world that we are a loving and happy democracy. I'll tell you, the biggest Indian funeral ever when Mahatma Gandhi died. And there were flowers everywhere, and the Indian community will come out. You will see malas, and people should put something up on their doors. I put a sign out that I'm a big sheet all day today, and it said that he said, stand tall, never bow down. That was an excerpt of one of his speeches, and it was published on the internet. I got it. And I wrote it big, and it was back in 1976 he wrote that, I believe, or earlier. And I wrote by Basil Pandey, rest in peace, and I wrote under the little heart. Because to me, he meant something to me. I wanted people to know that. I'm not going to be afraid. But you see, to defeat the PNM, we've got to believe in the democracy. That Mr. Pandey spent his whole life fighting criticism from people. They slaughtered him politically because they had him in court every day. That's what it is do. They'll take you to court every day and make you go insane and spend millions of dollars. That's what they do. And they never charge anybody. All the charges were dropped in the end. And they'll plant things in your houses. They'll have people lie and say terrible things into the media. And they bribe the media. They pay off the media in advertising because state enterprises publish everything in the newspaper. Every day is 20 pages of financial reporting that nobody reads. They'll never talk about socialism or not social welfare and housing for the poor. And you wouldn't see hundreds of pages. You see, we take that and we fine with it. I'm telling you. We have to get to that level and say, if we really want a democracy, we don't need people like the PNM. It could be better, but they bring in the same people with the same tactics, and they're just winging it, and they're fooling us into believing that we're living in paradise when people getting kidnapped and they return. And you don't hear much about why did they get returned? Nothing. The media wouldn't tell you much. They don't tell you, so you don't know what's going on. But you're going to hear bits and pieces.
And meanwhile, on social media, you see pictures of people getting gunshot and they get all the social media stuff. How do they get them things and publish it so quickly? Who's releasing all these things? It's just insane. Like we're going down and somebody need help and this is a wake up for all of us. family didn't die in vain. They left a legacy of information for us. Okay, that was my thing. I think you know what would be picking up a funeral for Mr. Pandey if they took his body on a biking path. Kill the flowers. Because he worked for the sugar cane with a sadly he should have resolved the land thing as a different as I was upset about
that.
that.
But he did. His corpse should be carried, his coffin, to the funeral pyre in a bison cap. A humble man. No big motor Prada or anything like that. That is the way you do it. They pay tribute to a guy who lived under colonialism. That's what we all did, and many of our Trinidadians lived under the brutal hands of slavery. You know, that to me, I feel real happy that we have to live forward to something. We gotta get rid of the PNM first. That's what we gotta do. All right, that was my comment, Leonard. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much as well. Of course, and you mentioned a term, or should I say a guru, a very sacred and honorable name in the I shouldn't say pseudonym, but in the term Gandhi, because Basio Pandey clearly is the Gandhi of Trinidad, and I just mentioned, of course, the appreciation of all across the board, working class, middle class,
Yes.
and clearly upper class appreciation for the way he handled, of course, the ability of people to on an affordability basis.
Angry when you look forward to and it kind of offended his cover Prasad because there is a Baptist and she was doing a puja and people were bowing down to her. And I was like, what's this? You can't play religion when it's convenient. You know what I mean? All Indian people are not Hindus. If you're a Christian, you follow that faith and be loyal to it. You can't just spin and jump. Some people do that, I guess. I don't know. All right, I'm going to hang up.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, paying homage, paying respect, and even if it is at the level of, and we singularly recognize the patriarch, the patriarchs of the religion, and we genuflect in order to generate that respect. It doesn't mean to say that you are, of course, bowing to anybody. It's just that you're paying respect, and if people understand that, then they will respect that as well. A pleasant good night to you. Good night. Good night.
Good night to you, Mr. Lennox. You know what I want to touch on tonight?
Go ahead.
That finance talk about in 5 years he ain't going to cinema with his son and he want to further his study. He days are numbered in office. He cocaine with golden red butter. So they're trying to do different things. And I will tell you something, they will use Mr. Pandey's funeral for no election and political gimmick, They should have never done this. Will not do that, The way how the man took, the man name is numbers in politics. Or he's going to cinema private son and he want to study this. The man built a wall in his country and he fall down on him. What you want to build now, after you put all the money in the country, you buy mall, you buy this, you buy that. What about the $15 million your wife power wash by and stay with them with them? And you want to talk now, you want to study? Your days and numbers in office, but that's why he's cooking now. Yeah, he says he study constituency that he abandoned it. Because he realized now that days are numbered. The days are numbered. Those are the things I want to talk about. Yeah, here?
Yes.
In politics, the man make enough money. You hear? And hear what he's talking now. He wants to further study. Time for the man to go to in the graveyard, in the cemetery. You want to study what? $15 million. Yet that's what they're talking so now. Yes.
All right.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
And Miss Santa Cruz, good night to you.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, I just just for clarity and transparency and accountability, the statement by the current Minister of Finance, but then that statement was made when he was kicked out of office, when the Manning administration was kicked out of office, before of course, 2010, when, of course, the Pandey administration took over the government of Trinidad and Tobago in 1995. Remember, Pandey came into office in 1995. And, of course, Manning came into government for the first time as Prime Minister in 1991. So 1991 to 1995, he lost the elections, of course, of 1995. And between 1995 and, of course, moving forward, Imbert was saying how he felt in opposition. Oh boy, sorry about that. Let's call up. Sorry about that. Please call back. I clicked the wrong knob, so that I instead of pressing to bring you on, I pressed to take you off. So let's get it now. All right, okay. So let's go. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Mr. Lennox and the listeners.
Yes.
Your technology is breaking up on YouTube, and you're stuttering sometimes. Like,
oh my! All right.
Man.
All right.
Mr. Lennox.
Yeah.
I would like to say. So, I would like to say on my contribution, right?
Go ahead.
That all pensioners who collect the pension this month, right? I would like to say to all pensioners who collect the pension on the 1st of January and on the 2nd, when they went into the bank and they see the money, remember Mr. Baldev Pandey had bring it to this street of Roy, and that he give you sustainable income to survive. And then he put medicine in the hospital. Then he gave your children and the grandchildren a place to educate themselves. Because coming out of Eric Williams era, and the post-colonial henchman Eric Williams was on the people, on the public and the country, he opened their eyes. But the narrative, as I said, the slave catchers will read the narrative just to see a dictator like Rowley, and they can see the history of the PNM. This is a learning moment to see why it is. We, as a people, have to make a serious decision to know that our future is in our hands. Because the PNM never think about educating and elevating the citizens of this country. Eric Williams tax people and people the treasury too, and mismanagement. It's just a repeat on the Rowley, because they take out every single thing to excusals and contract, enrich yourself, and the supporters and them are dying, need, hungry, and still destitute. That is why through unity, when they see unity, people doesn't want, the PNL doesn't want that. And Mr. Baldev Pandey, being the great leader, because he knows where he came from, that was the first thing to be a good leader. He knows where he came from and where his roots were. So he served the people, the indentured and the African slaves in those days, because it was post-slavery and in the aggressive era. And it makes a better way of life for a man who knows that the work they feed to go and get an education, how important education is. And now, their same critics, slave catchers of them will say that the PNM educate them. That is why I wanted to know the Concord Act with the Catholic board and the Presbyterian, especially the Presbyterian board, who educate most of these stalwart, because the PNM only had a few people that wanted to be educated, just like what Rowley is doing. They create dropouts and delinquents so they can be dependent for the survival. So all those who collect attention will remember Mr. Basil Pandey. Those who see when they go for SIDAP, they realize that they're not getting enough, but because of Mr. Pandey could get a SIDAP under the UNC, which Mr. Kamala Prasad because the continue the good work. When your children go to school and they can get lunch and free transportation, all they vote out against that, and the slave catchers and them say that wasn't a good policy. So when we ask now, what is the economic prosperity under Steve Rowley of 8 years and in there? Nothing. And you can see that the criminal element and the PNM go hand in hand. Just like KFC and ketchup. Because without ketchup, you don't enjoy KFC. And why? You see everything. So that is why unity, and I call it on this Lennox, that let us unite and come out in our numbers and stand up and send the message for Keith Rowley and shut down this country when the body is going into mourning and state. Nobody moves. And then we pay homage because we're in mourning for our great leader. Have a nice night.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And all of that symbolizes the 12 months of heat for 2024 as we come out of the box. Pardon the pun on shooting, but shooting from the hips, from both hips, having regard, of course, to what is purporting to be government and governated, of course, the shift system. And he was committed to and did make the move. Even Kamala Prasad Bisesa was a minister of education, I think, at the time, responsible for the de-shifting of schools. A program that, of course, fragmented and maybe generated the existence, the evolution of the kind of communities along the east-west corridor that we are seeing now, crime-infested communities along the east-west corridor. Because whilst Mommy was at work, Mommy and Daddy at work, the children were allowed to remain at home to all of their devices and therefore exposed to those negative elements. And of course, as it said, that if you are unsupervised and you are vulnerable, that you are very impressionable, and any, of course, a mature individual steep, of course, in evil and wickedness can lead very fragile minds astray. And that is what happened for that entire period of the shift school system. And Pandey and they recognize that in itself was generating a socio-economic and a psycho-cultural maelstrom, a kind of hell on earth. And of course, they took the decision to de-shift a school, but more than that, to abolish, of course, the combinatorial system as well, so that people can, of course, seamlessly enter the secondary system, but of course having the appropriate accommodation and attitudinal changes. Of course, that means that you must have the professional, what I consider to be persons who are supposed to deliver the curriculum or the various curricula, having regard, or curriculi, having regard, of course, to the fact that not all of them would be, of course, academically inclined, and therefore there must be accommodation for those who are so disposed. So, again, one can only give credit where credit is due, and Basil Pandey certainly recognizing that. And imagine if that did not happen, how worse off the situation would have been today. Of course, remember we came out of the 1990 attempted coup. We must build that into the equation as well. So these are analysis that we will be, of course, engaging over the next couple of weeks, whilst, of course, we are mourning. But certainly I agree that, of course, Pandey must be treated with the highest degree of respect, honor, and what the state can provide. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Professor, good night.
Hello, good night, Mr. Lennox Smith. I'm calling a little early tonight because I get kind of sleepy after 9.
No problem, no problem.
So, Lennox, people keep asking for follow-up.
People asking for what? Asking for?
For this 2025 election. I'm not hearing you clearly. You're breaking up.
I'm saying...
So I'll just talk, Lennox.
Yeah, talk, yeah. Good.
Are you hearing me, Lennox?
Loud and clear, yes, go ahead. I'm hearing you, go ahead. Yeah.
So what I'm saying, people keep asking... Right. So people keep asking for foreign observers for the 2025 general election.
Right.
But what the opposition doing, what the activists doing, we can't just talk and ask this criminal man, because he ain't going and have no observers here, We could talk and talk and talk, right? He don't have time with nobody, He needs to be pressured, right? He needs the Organization of Americans to tell him that he has to have foreign observers. It's only them could tell us that, right? People feel it's just so. And we all know already and so about this whole thing, right? With this behavior, this government. We all know the behavior. So we have to report them.
Yeah.
I can't take on our next election without foreign observers, Lennox. We can't afford that, So in order to put a spoke in the wheel, call that organization for him, fast, tomorrow morning. You understand? When Farley tell him he's going to put him there, he get quiet. Right? After he gave Farley a set of talk, and then he tell himself, look, let me stay quiet. And we never hear anything after that. Let us look at Guyana when they had the troubles, right? With that criminal friend with Rowley involved with. They had to reach out to all there. And what they were afraid of, they decide, let me explain it to all, they decide, as Raz Gonzalez is the chairman of the CELAC organization, they decide Raz will have him come across there, that is the president of Guyana and Benin, to have a chat to cool down the next criminal in Venezuela. And then now they invite Rowley. So this is why Raz talk, say, well, let them come. He's chairman, he's the head of CELAC. Right? Now where Ali is President Ali, where he's the head of CARICOM now, the chair of CARICOM, things will get complicated again because it's war right now with words and so with Jack Dale and this criminal friend where Rowley have next door to me. All these things we could put before these organizations, especially the OS. Rowley is involved with this criminal gang where most of them have bounty on their head. It's not only he, right? All these people that he have there, all this what they call please, the head of the parliament, right?
Talking about, of
the
course,
speaker of the house, the speaker. I get a little distracted here. The speaker of the house, right? This woman is a biased woman. All of that is not good for the country. It's pressure inside of the opposition. They're always turning them down. Sometimes when I watch that parliament channel, I just be mad, Lennox. I just wish that if you could push your hand through the TV, you could hold one of them by the collar and shake them. It just be frustrating to listen to this woman, how she does be carrying on. Look at this Duncy head commissioner we have. She there illegal. Got it right. And people just talking about this duncy head woman. This next duncy head, sleepy head, at Albert Hines is the security of the country. You can't handle it. Right? These people is a set of fraudsters. All of them need to be sanctioned from the Chief Justice go right back. I telling you. They need to pressure these people. As long as we leave them there, we will continue to be in this suffering. Right? Because we, the people, are allowing it. We, the people, not calling on the opposition, and they keep saying she don't have power and she don't have power. She have plenty power. Because I just look at Rowley Gangman friend, how the opposition is pressure him there next door, and they just get through with all what they want. The last time they get observers, the people, Venezuelans here in this country, had to vote, and they told me, to have one or two of them as my friend, they told me when they went to vote, it had observers, foreign, observers, and that was just a simple election to have the candidate who will be going up for the president, Nicolas Maduro, and the candidate right now is a woman. Can't do like the opposition there. Push. We, the people, have to keep talking and asking our opposition. We can't be asking Rowley. Rowley is a I don't want to put the words in my mouth right now. Rowley is a dangerous man.
Dictator,
we cannot trust him on anything. He's not nice. He's not going to do anything.
Extremely dishonest, yes.
Right? Well, Lennox, I ain't hearing you good. So I will end for now. Have a good night.
Okay then. I think on my own system here, the one that is used to monitor what is happening in studio. But of course, because we know that Dr. Rowley and they are engaged in sinister behavior, we know that they are engaged, of course, in the undermining of our democracy, and therefore you are quite right that we have a duty and responsibility to be eternally vigilant, as I started, and therefore the protection of our democracy is uppermost, and we know that that this administration is capable of undermining, having regard to the decision of the Privy Council, which of course preempted a decision where, of course, we eventually had local government elections in August last year. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night again, Mr. Lennox.
Good night again.
Everybody calling on camera to do she part is how much more the woman could do. The woman doing how much they're doing to follow the woman and give the woman the encouragement. The woman doing she part. Is the citizen is not doing their part. Everybody calling us Kamala. What they is doing to help out the woman is trying. You have to remember we have a zombie, a devil. Right? In the parliament, they rule everything. Yes, Kamala couldn't do so much. She has the Monday night forum. She just let out everything. Well, all access the woman also, instead of criticize the woman. All you know, we have zombies in the parliament. They control everything. You hear? All you do all your part too. You hear? All you know the country under evil spell. Look at that man's face. All you never look at that man's face in that burnt coconut. Only evil. Now, all you start bringing down Kamala so. Kamala doing she part, all your citizens, do all your part too. Come out and support the woman. All right?
Yes.
Good night.
Yes, indeed. And of course, there is a school of thought that I was engaged in, I think, only today, where it's being said that somehow if Pandey was around, and of course, the shenanigans that are taking place with this Rowley fella, by now things would have been would have turned around, because of course I think the opposition clearly, while we will always be dissatisfied, or put another way, that more should be done the fact of the matter is that even in Rowley's rambunctious and belligerence and, of course, dogmatic and totalitarian disposition, we see that he had to humble, particularly when the opposition took him to court on several accounts, whether it be property tax, the way how they wanted to implement it, whether it be, of course, on the question of bail, whether the question of course, the implementation of the gang act, whether, of course, the question of how they wanted to subvert our right to vote by the opposition going to the Privy Council, and we got the chance to vote. What you will not get, of course, as was the case with Pandey as well, is, of course, a level of aggressiveness or a level of upheaval that is nestled in physical encounter, even though, of course, that will be part and parcel of the mixer. But we have had that as well, because we had pushback 1, pushback 2, pushback 3, and pushback 4 and 5, and we know what Rowley is prepared to do in those circumstances. So let us be as rational as possible. Not that I am making any excuses or I have any of course, let's say, brief for the opposition, but I take the position of the previous caller, not this one, the one before the last one, in that we have a duty and responsibility to, of course, communicate, to do our things, because we have seen that's the only people that Rowley and they respect. Once it is totally local, once it is totally domestic, he will play and he will toy and he will, of course, aggressively and use, of course, aggression as the best form of defense. And he will malign and he will use, of course, a very, what I consider to be choleric language in order, of course, to suggest that somehow his mandate is one of a landslide, when in fact he only has 22 seats, and pretending as though he got a landslide from the population. So we know the enemy that we are dealing with, and therefore I think if Pandey was in the situation today as Kamla Prasad Bisesa, I don't think he would have fared any better or significantly better than how Kamla Prasad Bisesa is faring. What has to happen is that the population, as the last caller rightly said, must go out there. If there are 20 persons in a constituency, all legitimate 20 must vote, because we know that Rowley has, of course, and has the capacity. We did not observe that with Wanning, for example, but we see that Rowley is prepared to thief an election. We see that he is prepared to, of course, not have a fair and free of fair elections. We have seen that, and therefore we have to be naive, we have to be stupid, we have to be, of course, out of sync with what is happening, and understanding the measure of the beast that we are dealing with, the power mongerer, and his preparedness to use office in order, of course, to have his way advantageous as it is, and therefore we must be totally proactive in order to treat with it. So I say all of us have a responsibility, as of course I have already indicated by not the last caller, but the previous caller is capable of treating and must treat with this viper that is, of course, the Rowley administration. Again, straight to our confirmation, and I think I should just tie up that loose end where the seeds of the discord and the violence took place with, of course, the introduction by the PNM of the shift system, and Pandey's credit and his administration, to Pandey's credit and his administration of course, de-shifting and, of course, putting and providing the population with an opportunity where there is a simultaneous time to go to school and work, and same time to come from school and work, and therefore greater supervision. And in spite of all of that, we have seen, of course, what is happening today, the unruly and the bulliness and the violence and the intemperate nature of course, of students who come from the very communities. Just imagine if that de-shifting didn't take place, what kind of chaos we would have had. So all we did probably is either postpone or we reduced, of course, the amount of chaos that today would have materialized as a consequence of the PNM's pernicious and, of course, not well thought out shift system that Pandey deliberately de-shifted in order, of course, to make it a little more pleasant, as bad as it is today. But nonetheless, it is a pleasant development, having regard, of course, to what was possible if that did not take place. All credit, of course, to the UNC and, of course, Pandey, and of course, of which Kamala Prasad Bisesa was a part and got that experience. And today, of course, she has demonstrated, of course, the quintessential stateswoman, diplomat, if you want to call it that, and of course, a very sagacious thinker, and one that clearly understands what is required to take Trinidad and Tobago out of its current mess, morass, and difficulties that is now Trinidad and Tobago under this viper called Rowley and his miscreants, ministers of course, government. Sorry about that, caller. Please call back. Yes, let's look at that. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
This is my final call for the night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
But I want to say something tonight. I want to say something. It has a lot to do with parents and children. Because let me tell you something. I was a single parent, very young. And I used to talk to my son. I used to say, son, I've given up everything to you. You want a sneakers? I work it, I'm going to buy it for you. I said, don't let me down. And one day, my son misbehaved in school. I tell you point blank, you know, how I was. My son misbehaved in school. The teacher called me and the principal called me, right? They say, come in school. I didn't listen to me. I tell you point blank what I did. I tell my son, I said, don't let me down. I give you everything in life. I've given you education. If I want a shoes, I left out my son and I bought shoes here. And one day my son misbehaved in school. I went to school. I hit him one cuff. I got 4 teeth. I said, don't ever let me down again in life because I gave you everything. And if parents is to do the children that, today they will not be holding gun. Right? But I want to ask a question again. You have an activist, right?
Yeah.
She's talking about Kamala drinking and falling down and about Indian and this and that. Who given the African people the gun? Who got, they're looking for the gun and they're buying the gun and selling to go and shoot people. So what she talking about Kamala say light up and strike up on people? She only talking about since 1990. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but that's only
I tell you, my son behaved in school. I said, when I used to talk to him, I said, watch me, son, you're going to school. I fighting very hard. I'm making one neighbor care, one neighbor day. Right? And I said, don't let me down. And one day this teacher called me and say, my son misbehaved. I'm not lying to tell him, Mr. Lennox. I walk up in school and I pull him in the front of the class. I hit him one cup, 4 teeth come out. I said, I will pay for the dentist. And look at it, my son is a doctor in America. You hear? His parents have to pull up children, no children pulling up parents instead. You hear? Children want to tell mother when them going out and die on the business. No, I make you, as long as you live it under my roof, you go with my rules. And if they go with that same kind of thing, today we want to have all this crime in Trinidad. And listen to me, we could have gone wrong in my parents' days. When we parents sit down with people that talk, we couldn't sit down and watch we parents watch. Once they watch, we had to get up and go. After that, the people go, as licks to get him. And listen to me, my son is 51 years, and he's a doctor in America. And if I didn't pull him up, he would have been something different. So parents have a lot to do with children behavior. and bringing up children, Mr. Lennox, working all over the night to do the ground report. And when you go home, you have children, your wife will tell you, my son didn't do this, my son didn't, or my daughter didn't do this. You as the boss in the house, don't come to tell me nothing. I left you in charge. But no children ruling parents. No children are going to rule me. I tell you, I'm going to be 60-something, going to 70. No children are going to rule me. Hey, the dog. Go away.
I hear you. I hear you, my friend. I hear you. Very good. Very good. Very good. But of course, I have to caution, however, that of course in those days that was permissible clearly, but of course these days it will be considered to be corporal punishment, which of course is against the law. But of course there are alternative tools that the parent can use, and therefore the fundamental principle is that parents cannot still, in spite of the fact that they may lose, of course, the ability to physically make an intervention, like cuff them in the mouth and take out 4 teeth and so on. No, that will not be permissible or applicable in today's Trinidad and Tobago, having regard to our commitment to international conventions and the right of the child, etc. But there is, of course, tools nonetheless, because you are quite right. They are living in your home, you are providing for them, and therefore there must be some measure of discipline that will, of course, allow them to take advantage of the opportunities and, of course, achieve the same standard that you would have achieved in circumstances where you had to, of course, use physical. That is one way of dealing with it, and there are many other ways, but we will deal with that when we are looking at solutions. We will have a whole series of solutions to the socio-economic and psycho-cultural, the multifaceted problems that we have at this point in time that has spawned this level of iniquity and, of course, evil that is Trinidad and Tobago today, including, of course, the first step, get rid of the PNM. Let's go straight to the line. President, good night. Welcome. Yes, well, if you are, because I have another person on the line. Caller on the line, just hold on, and let me take this one on the phone. Yes, hold on, and let me take you on the phone. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, hello?
Hold on, caller, just hold on, just a minute. I'll have one on the phone.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Repeat that again, because I'm sure that since I didn't hear, they wouldn't hear either.
I said, if Mr. Pandey could have talked, you would have tell people stop bothering about naming anything after me at the airport and all of that. That was the kind of
I see. Yes, okay. Right.
And in any event, the people who just rate the airport, Skytel and ticketed, already rated my airport as one of the best in the Western Hemisphere.
Yes. In spite of what the PNM must try to do, yeah.
You understand, Lennox?
Yes, I agree. Yes, thank you very much, of course. Sorry about that, caller on the line, on the system. Go ahead, caller. Sorry about that, but I had one on the telephone and I thought I should, and he came in just before you came in. So, a pleasant good night. Welcome.
Okay.
Yes. The person answer, hold on. Go ahead.
Good night to you and all those on the chat, and Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
Yeah, I listen to some people, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, you remember in 1995 when Pandey came into power and he built the Breach High School and all these schools he built in the rural areas that the children didn't have to travel too far. And in both states, them school is for Dwen and Parat.
Oh yes, I remember that very distinctly because I had a conversation. Yes, I remember. And
he said that same in both. He said them school is for Dwen and Parat. Yeah, and today he's standing up in the parliament and talking about diarrhea. I only hope he know that when the blue lights and the silver bracelets come in, is he will get the diarrhea.
well done.
He will get the diarrhea. Not the people. He will get it. Yes, so I just wanted to tell you that Mr. Pandey he did a great job. The schools that he built and they criticize and say for doing and para. That today these schools are filled
Yes,
with
and
children.
operational, yes.
And they even give trouble to open the Bishai school too. They see all kind of false news and all gas this and gas that. And look today the school is running. Nobody never gets sick. These people. And next thing too, I want to know how the Minister of Education could put she name on the school down in Ramai Trace. I can understand that. That is a Mahasabha school. Anyway, look on and listening.
Yes, yes. At least the Mahasabha should have some kind of opportunity to say who should be the one credited with the, of course, the construction of that school, having regard to the length of time that they were advocating for the school. But at least we are very elated that the children have a building to finally, of course, call their own, where they can, of course, like every other child in the country, be able, of course, to absorb the teachings, and therefore they learn as everybody else towards, of course, treated with the various exams along their academic journey. That being as it may, let me just say once again that issue of Imbert indicating that he didn't like it and that he was out of office. I just wanted to say that was the period between 1995 when Pandey was in office, and let's say 2000 when the PNM was out of office, and he didn't like it. And of course, he said that he would be a changed man. But we see that a tiger doesn't change its stripe, nor a leopard its spots. And so I thought I should revisit that particular confession or that particular commentary by Imbert to show once again how deceptive that these fellas are, and how insincere, and how of course their level of dishonesty knows no boundary. And today he comes and he's talking about bowels and of course gastrointestinal disorder and all kinds of hogwash. I just merely did that, but it's also to show that there may be by way of serendipity, by way of divine intervention, to of course bring that up at this time, because all of them are destined, of course, to be out of government at the end of this year as we move into 2025. That too must be, of course, a sign of the inevitable defeat, exiting of government by, of course, Rowley and his gang of thieves. His gang of thieves, no doubt. But let's hear them fumble over the property tax, because it was never put in the manifesto of 2015. Never put in the manifesto. So what I want you to observe is how they fumbled to try to address that problem, knowing full well. So it's a conspiracy, knowing full well that they left it out because their intention was to bring it back. But yet still, Rowley said that in that very meeting, in that very, of course, presentation, that the PNM and anybody engaged in such propaganda will be dishonest if they say that the PNM will bring back the property tax. Well, it is upon us and will be implemented after a lot of course, resistance from the population, but they were insistent simply because of their slim majority and their dishonesty and their belligerence and their unrelenting attack on the ordinary person, the single salary homeowners, because they started with homeowners as opposed to talking about domestic rather than, of course, business. And that tells you and gives you the measure of the level of evil that these men are capable of doing and, of course, contemplating and engaging. Let's go straight once again, of course, to complete. Observe how they are fumbling over each other to answer a question that they clearly had decided that they will hoodwink the population, play on the deception that was Rowley at the time, looking as a corruption buster, having, of course, attacked Manning, whilst Manning was his boss. And the impression that was given to the population is that he's a no-nonsense man. But it turns out that he is, of course, a promoter and encourager, a person who will, of course, support criminal behavior, corruption, and nepotism, as we see unfolding in the cabinet itself by the evisceration and the thinking or the deception manifested in the taken out of clause 7 of the procurement legislation so that they can have their way to steal and to, of course, engage in this kleptocratic behavior that, of course, is clearly not just unbecoming, but pernicious, inimical, and not conducive to not only good governance and transparency, but for the sustainable development of Trinidad and Tobago, our children and our children's children. Let's go once again and hear them as they fumble over each other to answer a question that they thought would have never come up. And I want to say kudos at the same time to the journalists who raised the question. Let's go back there.
CNC3, one of the more contentious issues in the last general election was that of the property tax. Where in the PNM's manifesto is this addressed?
It's not in the document. It's not in the document. It's not in the document. This is one of the...
So notice, Imbert said it's not in the document. But Rowley said, let me take that. And he keep intervening and intervening. And so notice that they were at odds as to how to address that particular question. But Rowley believed he brighter than everybody else at the time. Now we know that he is that insane, believe that he brighter than everybody else. But of course, the evidence is clear that they conspired to deliberately leave that out of the manifesto because they didn't want it in black and white, because I could present it to you, but I could still present it to you because they said it. There is an audio and a video of the record of what their position would have been then. And as Rowley said, it would have been dishonest of anybody to say that the PNM will institute, if they get into government, the property tax. Well, we know that the PNM, Rowley and they are extremely, or should I say, dishonest to the extreme. So let's continue as they mumble and fumble over each other to answer a question that we have the answer to now in 2024.
Things we need to talk to people about.
Let me take that one. I'm glad you raised that. The dreaded property tax. Let me make it abundantly clear. As I speak to you now, arrangements are already put by this UNC administration for land and building taxes to come back into being after September 7th. That was done by Larry Hawaii when he became Minister of Finance. So for anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
CNC3, one of the more contentious issues in the last general election was that of the property tax. Where in the PNM's manifesto is this addressed?
It's not in the document. It's not in the document. It's not in the document. This is one of the things we need to talk to people about.
Let me take that one. I'm glad you raised that. The dreaded property tax. Let me make it abundantly clear. As I speak to you now, arrangements are already in place put by this UNC administration for land and building taxes to come back into being after September 7th. That was done by Larry Hawaii when he became Minister of Finance. So for anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
That is how dishonest these fellas are. And let's not waste time. And therefore their credentials and their inability to manage the affairs of the country over the last 8 years is pellucid, clear, and of course transparent as the lies that they would have told us. I believe that we would not, of course, regurgitate. We wouldn't revisit, so that the population will know that Rowley and they are not just toxic, but they are bad news for Trinidad and Tobago. But I thought it was important because there are other things that I wanted to complete leading up to, of course, New Year's, which I'm going to pursue because it's important that we know and have an appreciation as to where we have come from in order for us to make certain that 2025 is one of total victory for the people. And that can only be manifested by, of course, the UNC and Kamala Prasad Bisesa gaining government in 2025, in spite of all of the shenanigans and in spite of all of the foreplay and all of the dishonesty that has become idiosyncratic and typifies the Rowley administration. They are simply dishonest, wicked, and nasty, of course, and political kobos that will pick on any political carcass in order to hoodwink the people. They are also, of course, political cannibals as well. They are political cannibals, and they will, of course, poach on others, including, of course, the UNC, whilst at the same time saying that the UNC is not good and they are the ones who would be sufficiently ready for managing the affairs of the country. But we see the opposite is the case, a sort of antithesis of what they are saying, a sort of irony that, of course, is the PNM in government, and, of course, this group of individuals who clearly have lost their way. Let's go once again and show how extensive the deception was with respect, of course, to property tax. So you know that they said that they will never implement property tax. They told us that, just as how they said they will never, of course, touch the subsidies. And today we are reading from the pain, ache, and agony, and, of course, an additional pain when, of course, the property tax is rolled out. Let's go straight to the lines. Let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant
good night, Mr. Lennox.
Pleasant good night
on
to you.
The ending of your conversation,
yes,
to justify what you're saying, it's just that the country only had 3 days money. We will have no money. The UNC thief it out. Yes. My friend did thief no oil, no fake oil. That is false, fake news. Then they come and they say, when the treasury, he say how much billions of dollars, and we don't have no money. Then the watch on the hand, where he went, he say it's a fake watch. Everything he do, he justified by fake. He can say he's not closing down Petrotrin. Petrotrin will not be closed. And where the flare of Petrotrin have been shut off. Then he said no new taxes and hardship on the people. And he will not make them bear the hardship. We will buffer it through and we'll pull through with what? More taxes, and he raised electricity, and look, it coming into effect. Just now, they're playing a political fishing hook, line and sinker. He doesn't say no people from WhatsApp. What they do with WhatsApp? People don't say they're not performing because they're uncertainty. TSTT, look at it again. So his track record online is very good. It entered the Guinness World Record. What we're supposed to do is call the people at Guinness World Record to enter Rowley into the books for the oldest head of state live more than 24 hours a day. Right? And blatantly lies publicly, internationally. The money, a check reached to America in Brooklyn, $500,000 US reached Brooklyn, and he don't know nothing about it. That is nothing brother. And just to know that is the brother. So the lies continue. And again, he is 8 years. He built the highway to Point 14 and he gave back $1 billion. We saved the country $1 billion. Now we have to pay $1 billion to the people, and I hope it's not with interest. Then he come now and he say, we'll let the chip fall where it may. That he partner, he have nothing to do with the decision that the heavy oil wait for where the chip may. But when they give us advice, he had to get other also advice not to appeal it. So $100 and something million again disappear. When you see landed, and we would like to ask to us the housing development where the builder on that shift and going down the hill because the people want to be down on the hill, the building shift. When it go on, it disappear. So you see, when you come and you rent some fake boat and we do the research and find that it's electrical people that in a public house in America, the addresses, for the renting boat, Bridgeman. You see, so you see the lies continue. And in 8 years of lies, and this added up, and lie. Tell me how much you lie. Don't cry for me, liar. So it's don't cry for me, Argentina, it's liar. And then the true economic prosperity that we will see the wealth and you see we're going to be prosperous now for everybody. We have better times ahead when you sign a deal without any disclosure to the people. So tonight, Mr. Lennox, I would like to say to D.L. Singh, I've never killed a person. I killed that person and we have the evidence. And I want D.L. Singh and them to come out and challenge me with it. When they were killing people in Augusta's law, and that is a lie. And yet, up to this day, they are not bringing medicine to import into the country that people can take for blood clots in the body. We're again sick with that vaccine that they shove down the people's throat. Then you tell the public servant, you will get your money, you go down and send them home. No, look what you're doing. And one thing I want to ask Mr. Lennox, I know you is a leader of the Baptist community, but the other set of Baptist people who support Rowley and worship him, and I wonder if they are praying and having vigil, and they will come out and recognize and pay homage to the honorable man who gave them the recognition as a human being to practice the religion openly, and the PNM, the same PNM government who keep them down in bondage and in the bottomless pit, not to worship openly. They worship him at fallen. So you see, Satan come in all forms and fashion. In the next deal with Shell and Repsol and the Coman deals, I tell you, you're going to sell out everything in the country this year. Have a nice night.
Yes, indeed. But of course, from the religious perspective, I want to say those elements of the Baptist community who fail to give due where due is just, I want to tell them, damn you. And if, of course, you say that you are a Baptist and you are serving the Almighty and the righteous, that when you deny the fact that our exaltations as a significant player among the religious entities or denominational entities in Trinidad and Tobago is not as a consequence of the foresight, vision, and the religious equity that is supposed to be exhibited in a cosmopolitan country that is a democracy that has a respect for people's religion. If you fail to recognize, then of course you know that you are doing wrong. You know that you are being deceptive, and you cannot hide. You cannot hide from, of course, the one, the Almighty, if you commit that cardinal sin of not giving justice and due where it is due and justice is required. I don't talk with respect to that, and the caller is correct on all scores in terms of the lies upon lies upon lies. But let us look at the property tax scenario at this point in time as we delve much more comprehensively and, of course, look at the hoodwinking in the early stages. Why, of course, the 2015 and leading up to that particular elections, Rowley and they were saying that people would be doing themselves injustice. They would be lying on the PNM. People would be lying on the PNM if, of course, they say that they will bring into being property tax if they got an opportunity. Well, boy, it has materialized and has come to fruition, and therefore we can say categorically the PNM, Rowley, and your minions, all of you are blasted liars. It looks as though you are pathological in that regard, and therefore, of course, that level of what I consider to be sick, mendacious individuals must be brought to the fore, and the people must recognize that these are con men and con women that has settled in the highest offices in the country, purporting to be managing the affairs of the country. Oh, most despicable, egregious, wicked, evil, and diabolical. And there should be not just a catharsis, not just, of course, a purging, but an exorcism. Yes, there must be some kind of exorcism of this government, as of course Father Harvey attempted with the last administration undeservedly. But we know that PNM and Rowley, they are deserving of an exorcism. All of the religious groups in the country must now focus their prayer to make certain that by 2025 maximum, Rowley and his miscreants and his evil and his Satan manifest entity called the PNM, a criminal enterprise, be made to disappear from, of course, the politics of Trinidad and Tobago and our governance. Let's look at the situation with respect to the historic and chronology of the property tax. Yes, indeed.
National Movement Manifesto still more.
Let's look at
the dreaded property tax. Anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty. And telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
The appeal court has ruled government's 2017 property tax data collection drive was illegal. The drive briefly made it mandatory for citizens to submit personal details for the implementation of property tax.
So you recall in 2017 when they coming out of the Ministry of Finance and under Imbert, a total lie supported by forms printed and distributed and under threat of legal sanctions, that people who didn't fill it out and return it is subjected, of course, to $5,000 fine and jail. That's what Rowley and they were saying. That is how evil these people are. And when Kamala Prasad Mr. Sunday took it to court, the court said the entire exercise was a hoax. Imagine the government perpetrating a hoax on the people to try to get into their wallets, to make them pay money that was illegal. As we saw, of course, with they getting into our mattress money by piggybacking on the central bank program to, of course, exchange cut notes to Polymor. And they then say that the $100 bill is being used for money laundering and a big exercise. I mean, where would these people get off? You understand that they are criminals? You understand that they are murderers? They're totally unfit for office. And let's continue, of course, where the court said that the entire exercise in 2017 was illegal. Of course, that didn't stop them because this year it's been rolled out, but they had to conform to the court's decision, just as how they had to conform to, of course, the Privy Council on the question of trying to undermine our right to vote in the local government elections that took place, as far as they're concerned, prematurely, preemptively, on the 14th of August last year.
Anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty. And telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
The appeal court has ruled government's 2017 property tax data collection drive was illegal. The drive briefly made it mandatory for citizens to submit personal details for the implementation of property tax. A 3-judge panel said government via the Commission of Valuations had no lawful authority to demand property owners do so. Justices Peter Rajkumar, Charmaine Pemberton and Vashish Kokram unanimously ruled the Commissioner of Valuations acted unconstitutionally by requiring Maharaj and other citizens submit a valuation return form with the necessary information on or before June 10, 2017.
The dreaded property tax.
You can't tell me that Rowley and them didn't know that. You can't tell me that they didn't get legal advice after all the money that they're spending, of course, complaining that as to the amount of money spent under Kamala Prasad Bisesa for legal and other, of course, briefs given to, of course, specific lawyers. But, of course, we must show a blind eye to, of course, the travesty and the prolific briefs that was given, of course, to lawyers connected to Rowley and his criminal bunch, and lawyers that are prepared to give advice, so that Rowley and them could breach the law because they're paying them handsome so to do it. It's as if they're paying them to tell them or to confirm their evil and cunning or conman-like acts and illegal acts. That's a conclusion one has to draw when one sees, of course, the situation with Vincent Nelson and the way how they try to, of course, entrap Anand Ramlogan and of course Ramdi.
This PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty. Property tax. You have a multi-million-dollar house all over this country. This PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty. Amnesty. They end the amnesty the month before they leave office in 2015. They ended it, you know. The dreaded property tax. This PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty. As we came in to collect the tax that they said was due because the amnesty had ended, they started.
Yeah? Another excuse. This man is not only bipolar, this man is not only duplicitous, this man is dishonest and contemptuous and, of course, evil to the core. If I was Kamala Prasad Bisesa and Rowley and them said what they said in 2015, that they will never interfere with the property tax, I might have forgotten to, of course, repeal the tax. But because it remained on the books, they don't change their talk, but trying, of course, to deflect attention away from themselves and say that Kamala and them left it for them to implement. What kind of beast, what kind of human tragedy, what kind of macabre and, of course, unprecedented evil that has descended on Trinidad and Tobago. That is why we are so damn blight. How could you, Rowley? What kind of dishonest, corrupt, and bold-faced talk of that nature you can by saying that Kamala left it for all you. But you were saying that you will not implement it. So how Kamala leaving it for all you come in? You had a right to repeal it because they left it there. Because you were saying that you will not implement it because it will be dishonest for anybody to say so. Now you get in office. You believe that you have achieved your objective of deception, and now you're implementing it. Well, the people must not forget what you said. The people must not. And when they go to the polls, they must, in a revengeful manner, dig their hand in the ink after they would have voted solidly for the UNC and Kamala Prasad. All unfair games will play over, and only politics gives you the opportunity to play over because it's every 5 years or 4 years at the local government level, and therefore retribution is inevitable. Retribution is inevitable, Rowley. You're too damn dishonest, you and your bunch of miscreants, criminals, rapscallions, and of course, people who is destined for blue lights and silver bracelets.
Again, the dreaded property tax. Anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said the UNC's illegal challenge on property tax has put the local government reform initiative on hold. He said this is because the revenue the property tax would generate
All kinds of
would be the
excuses. Listen
lifeblood
now.
of the reform process.
After saying that he
They
will not
campaigned
interfere with
in
it.
2010 on Axe the Tax. We of the PNM, we are a responsible political party. We know that you are right-thinking, sensible people. We know that you know that in every democratic country in the world, that is a tax that populations accept.
I want you to look at the body language now. I want you to look at the level at which he is pitching his voice and the blatant lies that he is telling in order to hoodwink the population and sounding dogmatic and bombastic, but it's pure deceit and evil. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
You hear me clearly?
Loud and clear. Go ahead, my friend. Hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. You know that big thick notebook? If you have a big thick notebook, like with station and things like that, for statement and thing, and you take a record, and how much time this man lie or say stupidness, that book would done full in a month time, you know.
But I don't think it have a book
Yeah,
big enough to fill them lies. I don't think it have a big enough to put in those lies. I mean, the line like lion gone out of style. Go ahead. Hello?
And I was watching a program in the morning the other day, and the Prime Minister's office put out a statement about pandemic.
Yes.
You know, they didn't put the man as a former Prime Minister, they put him as an actor and a liberal union and all kind of other stupidness. But they didn't say an ex-Prime Minister or a former Prime Minister.
Well, we know the truth, so they could be in delusion as they want, and they could omit conveniently or what. The fact is, we know what he has done and what he is.
Yeah. That's something else I was to tell you.
All right, but when you're ready,
you see this video? That video the video where you was playing when they were is Hayat, and they say they wouldn't put back property tax.
Yes.
Even though I wish I had enough money to rent, you know the big screen down in KFC in Independence Square?
Right. Somebody told me
on
that.
Top of Independence Square in KFC.
Yeah, no, you're right, you're right.
I wish I could have played that video big and bold on that screen.
True. We'll get it, man. Something will happen. Somebody had told me about that, yes. All right.
Yeah, again.
Okay, partners. Somebody told me about that as well. That's a very good idea where you play these things to make people know. Because they're sycophants and the talk show hoax and them defending the indefensible. I mean, come on. I mean, it is totally despicable. That is inhumane. That is barbaric. That is wicked. That is nasty. That is dishonest. These fellas should be locked away collectively and individually. Locked away from the people's purse, away from the treasury. They are simply evil. Let's go, of course, and let's go and hear what he has to say again. So this clip is, of course, a comprehensive analysis of their position on property tax, and you see it's to-ing and fro-ing, ebb and flow. One thing today and another thing tomorrow, and so they go on, depending on the audience and the circumstance, and to defend, of course, the indefensible. One thing is clear. They said that they will not engage in property tax. What all this excuse is all about? Why? You understand why you should hate them as much as I hate them. You should understand why your anathema for this most hated man and hated prime minister and hated government must be uppermost in all of us minds. for that level of barbaric conduct, believing that we are fools and insulting our collective and individual intelligence.
Because if you want your road fixed, your drain fixed, your mosquito kill, your police service, your fire service, if you want all that, you make a contribution. The dreaded property tax. That this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
There are countries around the world that do.
So I thought it was important, of course, to look around the world to see which countries do not have property tax. Yes, because he's trying to tell us that every country in the world has a property tax. When I want to tell him that he's a blatant liar on that score too, and they are unresearched, and that they cannot fool us. And take note, because I know this program you will of course keep for posterity, so you will tell them the countries of the world, and you can do your own follow-up as to the countries of the world that do not have property tax. Contrary to what Rowley would have told us now, another lie on top the lie that he told us before, that he will not, of course, engage in property tax. Listen.
Not impose property taxes on their residents or non-residents. Bahrain, Turks and Caicos. This Caribbean archipelago is a British overseas territory, which also levies no income. The Cayman Islands. It is another Caribbean destination where foreigners can buy real estate and pay no property taxes. Dominica. Dominica is a country with no property tax. Malta, an island nation in the Mediterranean, which is part of the European Union, also does not levy property taxes and allows foreigners to own property. Monaco. It is another tiny European country which does not charge property taxes or income taxes. The Republic of Georgia is a small country on the Black Sea which identifies as European. Foreigners can buy homes with no yearly property taxes. The United Arab Emirates. It has no property taxes. Dubai. There are no annual property taxes, income taxes, or inheritance taxes in Dubai. Fiji. Several Middle Eastern countries, such as Saudi Arabia and Oman, also levy no property taxes. Sri Lanka.
We know that you are right-thinking, sensible people. We know that you know that in every democratic country in the world, that is a tax that populations accept. Because if you want your road fixed, your drain fixed, your mosquito kill, your police service, your fire service, if you want all that, you make a contribution. The dreaded property tax. That this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
So question. If we knew that every democratic country in the world have that tax, why in 2015 did he say that they will not bring back that tax? Why? I say to him, you are a criminal. You are a murderer. You are a rapist. And the scum of the Trinidad and Tobago earth. And the Tobago has abandoned you. And Trinidad must do the same. Must do the same. Because you are simply evil and dishonest. A criminal. Wicked and nasty. How dare you try to insult our intelligence in this modern information technologically advanced Trinidad and Tobago and age, and believe that we will not search the world to ratify and to of course confirm what you are saying. You blasted scamp.
If your property includes a dog,
let's go straight to the lines. Blessed good night. Welcome.
Yes, Lennox.
Well, then once again here.
Yes.
Well, I against this property tax real bad, and I going to keep talking and asking people who have properties, right, to not pay this property tax. Do not pay the property tax. I calling out for that. Simple. All this is set a talk. We don't need to talk. We need to act. Do not pay. And when they're not getting through, right, the whole program will have to crash. We can't afford this thing. Today I get light bill, right? Okay. Some people have more than one property. Is I alone? I don't have no brother and sister. I inherit, and it's plenty I have to pay for. You know, you have some people, their parents was richer than they, and you get what your parents have, but you're not as rich as your parents. They're fighting up. Hmm?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to buy things to repair your property and things. When you're poor, you can't afford it. You have to save and save, sacrifice and all kind of things. It's these things that us be going through. And now to come and pay all this property tax, that's all right. It ain't just, some people, it's not just one property. I have to repeat myself. It is so, right? And he, with the criminal self, I calling him criminal now, with the criminal friend, they're leaking we out here. This is a rich country with oil and gas. How the hell he could say if we want the road fixed and this fixed, we have to pay? No, that is all a responsibility. You're supposed to see about the citizens in this country by giving us free medication, free roads. You can't be asking us to come and put out again. He best friend next door to we, and I have to keep saying that for the people to know. Do you know that Venezuelans do not pay electricity? There's an oil-rich company. The poor do not pay electricity. They don't pay property tax. They don't pay no water bill. It's the filthy rich. And when I tell you rich, 1%, people who have malls, not grocery, you know, but malls, large hotels, they just have to pay taxes, electricity and water. But no Venezuela, no pay no water, no electricity. It's free. They don't even pay for gas. Gas for the vehicle is like $1 US. They're not using the currency anymore. It's $1 US to fill the tank. It's cheaper than a bottle of water in this country to fill a gas tank over there. And look at how much they're charging you, and you dealing with it, and he giving you crude all the time. You now come to tell people the other day, oh, you're going to be receiving crude from him. Lie again. They're helping them with the heavy crude. All this thing with this gas to liquid plant, they set up the whole plan long time since they go over there. Mark Luke sign up all kind of document. He first man sign. And mess up with money with this train one. And now we can't get foreign exchange. I set up bacchanal with this oil producing company where they open to rob people foreign exchange. That's why they shut down the refinery so they could make mass. And who could get things from pipeline? I had to talk so bit now because I don't know much about pipeline and all this kind of thing. Right? But they're robbing we all how with this gas. And you get yourself tied up in this brotherhood. And all they come in here to bleed we out because you have secret holding for your gangman friend and for he to survive. We have to know what we're doing inside of here. When I say we, the people, have to ask the opposition. If she not making that step, we have to ask her. And we just be acting Rowley and cussing Rowley on a daily basis for certain things. He don't have time with we. So we have to ask her to take these steps. Is we the citizens asking because they too responsible for us inside of here. And people have to stop talking. They set her done talk about what we want she do. We want her to take steps to get foreign observers inside of this country for the general election. We have right to ask. They have to talk for us in the parliament. That is how the shoulders run inside of here. They set a done talk. This is an educational program. You're an educated man talking sense, and these set a dunce coming here to talk rubbish to patch up for the UNC and the leader. We don't need that right now. We don't need that. This thing getting me annoyed with people with a set of done stuff all on your program in the night. Get rid of them done, Lennox. We don't have time for that. This is a serious time going on here. Good times going down here, you know. If 5 people get gone down tonight by Tanapuna Market, you know, 2 dead. That's the next thing to it. This set of gun coming in here. Right?
Yeah.
And talking about it coming from America. Well, I can't wait. The master boss just now. Lennox, good night. The time reached for you to rest your head. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, of course. And this is a democratic program as well, of course. And whilst, of course, we may disagree with a particular position on any matter for that matter, for a matter of fact, but the fact of the matter is that we will defend to the hilt your right to speak, even though, of course, one may disagree with one's position, because, of course, all of us have a contribution to make. That being said, let's continue until the end of this particular audio, because I have quite a lot for tomorrow, etc. So let's just go around the world.
External prayer room. A value will be applied to these structures to determine the total rental value of your property. If your property includes a dog kennel, chicken coop, or external prayer room, a value will be applied to these structures to determine the total rental value of your property. Opposition leader Kamal Prasad Bissessa had questions about Section 3A.
If you have a dog kennel, a dog, a dog house on your premises, if you have a duck pond, as I do, if you have a the duck pond, the fall coop.
All right, it appears that we lost that call, so we can continue with, of course, the discussion.
A tool shed, change place and so on. Will each of those items be taxed?
Finance Minister Colm Imbert, however, clarified that each of those structures will not be taxed separately, but will be considered in the overall rental value of the property.
This is intended to identify.
Let's go straight to the line. This obviously will be the final call, but let's take it because we committed to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello, Lux. Pleasant good night to you and everybody on the line.
Yes.
Pleasant good night, Lennox. Lennox, I want to say to you, I want to find what is this, right?
Yes.
No. We in this house, so while even here, we didn't follow any evaluation form concerning the property tax.
Right.
But yet they send stuff in the mail for us was to collect, but we was to sign thing. These people had a plan all the time was to send this thing for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago because we didn't follow no form, but they send documents for us. How is that, Lennox? I want to know. How is that?
Well, you have several database. They could tap into, let's say, the TNTech database. They could tap into, of course, EBC database, and that's why I found it funny that they couldn't send a check to every single citizen if they are checked into, of course, let's say the EBC database where they issued a ID card for every adult, and therefore since the rollout, since the money, the $22 billion was supposed to be for everybody, all they had to do was to, of course, check that and send a check for everybody. Who died in the process, well, of course, the check will just be returned. But it was the intention, of course, to get the money, spend it to provide, of course, funding for their 1%ers who they kept their VAT returns, and therefore use that as an opportunity to satisfy that, and of course shortchange you and I, the ordinary person who have a little business or have a rent to pay or have, of course, or you depend on a hamper. They would business with that. That is how evil these people are. They are very savage and wicked. So they could get in other words, to answer your question, they could get the information from all those sources.
So Lennox, right. So you, as you saying all of that, so to frighten the people to want to want thing they say by following all this evaluation form then.
Yeah.
Because if they know they can get the information, they can get the information all the time. Who they send it to? They frighten the people to want to do this thing then.
Yeah, well, originally the court said that in 2017 when Kamala and them took them to court. The court said, well, there are 400,000 households, it's just estimated, and you have to, of course, have a roll of 200,000 registered people to say that these are the people and the places was evaluated. And even in those circumstances, what they did, they hoodwinked the people again by not involving or claiming that the people are going to be prosecuted by the police. They suggested was the police. That time was merely the commissioner of valuation who doesn't have the staff. All now, they would have still be, of course, looking to see if they could evaluate people's home, and they would not have been able to reach close to that 200,000 that Imbert say that they have reached because of the hoodwinking and deception. So the government did not care what the court said and the principle about it and the morality about it. All they wanted was to get their way. And that is, of course, a sign, not just a sign, but acts of a dictator and, of course, the totalitarian and autocratic rule in a democratic country such as Trinidad and Tobago. And they will have to pay for it. I say so. And I know that the majority of the people who are conscious must be saying the same thing. Go ahead, my friend.
I don't know. So let me say this before I go. Trinidad and Tobago, do not sign for that register mail when these people and them bring this thing for it. Do not sign for it. Let it go back to the sender. Not on listening.
Yes. And let them come and do what they have to do. Since the law is there, let them come and do what they have to do. The commissioner of evaluation does not have the staff. But Rowley and they coin it in such a way so as to say you go make a jail, the police go come for you. No. What will happen is that the commissioner will merely call you in if you are a subject person and talk to you as to why you didn't fill it out, etc. But there are no jail or no except in a very extreme circumstance. But they just don't have the staff. So they give them the staff, but they want to achieve that objective because they want to again dig with fixed income to apply to another tax, quite apart from electricity, quite apart from water, quite apart, of course, from the multiple increases as a result of withdrawing the subsidies. And Imbert laugh at us twice and 3 times and 4 times. I mean, these people are simply criminals and, of course, need to get out of our psyche and out of our way. And we are going to do what we have to do, maximum 2025. Let's go back, of course, to the clip. We'll finish that clip tonight, whatever time it takes us. It's already 16 minutes past.
A building that is separate from another building. So, but when you get your valuation, is evaluation of your property. So you have a piece of land on which there are separate buildings.
Wow, of course, we have another call. I think I may have to pause that video, boy. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox. I want to tell that little caller, that last caller. You hear?
Yes.
Tell she put herself in together. You hear? Yes, she's talking about whatever it is. But if we don't have the opposition leader, how the opposition leader going to move on?
Yes.
How we going to help? So those who want to talk about philosophy, like Colin Imbert and Manning, bring out your skills too and come out on the road. So stop talking bullshit, girl.
All right. We don't want to go there because I respect every caller's views, and that was a view. So we know that people are working. We know we have an extra job to do because these people are criminals. We know that Kamala couldn't do more than what she would have done, even though, of course, we are making demands, but we have a duty and responsibility too. So I agree with that aspect of it, that we have to do more as people to make certain that they don't return to government. That is critical. But I think I better end here. It is 18 minutes past. We simply will have to continue tomorrow, so I'll start from the beginning. So those of you who may have missed will, of course, be able to see what is happening, because there are countries that do not have a property tax. Rowley said that every country has. And, of course, he also told us that PNM will never engage. They have. Of course, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar left it because she too believed what he said, but we have seen that he's an insincere man and very devious, wicked, diabolical, and criminalistic. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Once again, and to all your Arab listeners.
Yes.
And all the slave catchers.
Yes.
Now we have no reality. No reality is at home. They realize how dread the PNM is. When Ms. Kamala Prasad, they wanted to do the election and call it what? They had a name where the fella in America come and do the research, and they call it that the bandit about who and how to get a phone number to call them to ask interview who you'll be voting for. How in there go on into my private archive and get my name and information? So you see how fraud and flawed, the fraudulent and flawed, that when he report back to the parliament that he had the majority to run the property tax, he didn't have it. And then we talk about who is willing to come together to put their name on an injunction to file in the court against him there and his wrongfully and lying declaration of the property tax. And let me connect the dots tonight, because this is the way of existence in this land. They put the property tax so that the $7 billion in education will run away to Malta, where it has no property tax and income tax. The $6 billion in national security, I now see where it will go in Malta. And the man who closed down Petro and say it's not he don't ask, it's all he done in Malta. And you see certain businessmen over the years and have big shares in company back here making billions of dollars. You see where it's going? It's done in Malta because no property tax and no income tax.
Rowley knew that, but he believed that we wouldn't know. We wouldn't find out. Rowley knew that and was not
just like how
dishonest to not tell us, because he wants to have his way. Go ahead.
Right, and that local election, local reform, local government reform, local reform, right? So you see the narrative of the PNM and led by and discussion here tonight. You are presenting the lies and the evidence to the public that we're in there falsify information. Right? And falsify information to say he had the mandate, and that is where we can link it now to the industrial court, because remember the TTRA have to come on board to get his mission complete, and the circle of Ethan to finish taxi. Remember the story about Saul? Eh? So the short as he is and see where all the money and the enrichment, plain to see. So we have to understand as a people, is our children, grandchildren, our health and our well-being to move freely and enjoy the rights of life and property. It no longer exists. And the evidence you are producing, if we understand that is we the people have to come out and vote, and we are the people have to come out. Because when they had COVID and they had election in San Fernando West, they stopped everybody, and in certain polling station division, they had them moving fast because that is the stronghold. The evidence is there. Have a good night, and tomorrow peace God.
This is Massive Go Sign, and I'm giving you an account. Rowley man account. Rowley man account. Rowley man account. down in La Romaine. Rowley mother walking hard in the sun and rain. If you see this woman, she basically done, but the hard work she do, you need everything for.
Yes, people, of course, we have come to the end of the nice exercise. Tomorrow we will continue, of course, with that particular clip because it's very informative, a lot of research, and of course it belies every single statement that Rowley would have made in terms of course, justifying, or his attempt to justify the existence of a property tax pursued by Dr. Rowley and the PNM. A blatant and, of course, monumental lie that must be factored in any consideration to consider not only their integrity and the lack thereof of this government and their morality, but also their blatant lies and their original intent to deceive the people. A bunch of criminals. He himself, of course, being total and absolute pedophile and rapist, Rowley. And you could expect nothing better. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Don't forget, of course, that tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, as well as, of course, tomorrow night, we will continue with this discussion. Very, very, very topical. 2025 must be a disaster year for the PNM, and 2024 must be, of course, 12 months of heat of the night. God bless. Bye-bye.
Rowley mother planting all kind of produce. Grapefruit, lime and orange for you to make your choose. A hard-working woman, working day and night, but them charming solely thieving. As she out she liked, so she went up in Tobago, up in Lake Home, for Obia to see who thieving hototo. The lettuce and tomato, the cabbage and pimento, the celery and baji, the saiva and the karai. Even all the pumps he did that they're in every month. Rowley mother count.
From the Trinidad, location 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Help! Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea with an old captain named Eric Williams. Oh yes, it's smooth and free. But sadly Eric Williams passed away. The ship hit rough water that day. Someone turned the bridge over to a captain named Chambers. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a ball. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, these are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty. No electricity on it. And perish slow. We don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa.